Boker Tov, today's daf is daf Tzaddik, the last daf in Gitin, as we learn for a four shlemim for Elazar ben Reuben and Yosef Esriel ben Chaim Michal, and we welcome Naftali on the Zoom. I hope you're feeling okay. He's on Zoom. Okay.
Welcome.
Behind you. I know. I don't know what you were talking about. Okay.
He's got his video on. Look at it.
So before we start today's daf, we're going to look at the pasukim that this whole masechet is dealing with. We looked at them before. The pasuk says at the beginning of Perek Chaf in Vorim, Kikach ish isha ubala. If a man takes a wife and he lives with her, if he doesn't like her, ki matzava ever because he found some sexual misconduct, some impropriety in her. Because of the Sefer Creases, he writes her a get. Sefer Creases, right? A book. And he gives it to her, and he sends her away. So she leaves him. She can go marry somebody else as long as the other guy's not a Kohen, right? The other guy doesn't like her either. He's also what do you because of saying he writes her certificate of he gives her sends away. Or if the second guy dies, why would he die? Because he married somebody who was sexually improper before us. We'll see. That's more is going to explain all this. I'm giving this like preamble for today. And he dies. So that's the idea of Masuk Yishas Mishanis says, or Mishanis Arsa. You can't take her back. Well, the first husband can't take her back once she was married to somebody else. If she didn't marry somebody else and she just had a relationship with them, technically, I mean, as bad as it is, she's not over it. The first husband is not prohibited from taking her back. But if Reuben marries her, divorces her, she goes and marries Shimon, and Shimon dies or divorces her, Reuben cannot take her back. That's a low say in the Torah. It's a lav, get malchus for that, but Kedushin would be chal. It's considered abomination, etc. So that's what the Psukim tell us. Now, says the Mishnah at the top of Tzaf Tzaddik. A person should not divorce his wife unless there was some impropriety, some moral impropriety on her part, some sexual misconduct. Otherwise, you shouldn't divorce her just because you don't like what she's done or you don't like the way she keeps house. Shinamrit says, we just quoted that pasuk. Why doesn't he like her? He takes her wife. Why? Why? Because he found something wrong with her sexually. Some impropriety. Even if she burnt his steak or oversalted it, if he didn't like the way she prepared the food. Shenemer says kimotzav ervas davar. Now, what do you mean by that? We'll see. So we'll say either erva or davar, either some impropriety, some promiscuous impropriety, or some misconduct, or just doesn't like something that she's done. Rabbi Kiva says, even if he finds somebody that he likes better. He likes his wife, but he found somebody better. That's what the pasuk says. Pasuk is that's going to be, how do we understand that pasuk? He doesn't like her. Or he found some other misconduct with her. So that's the big discussion. We have three machlokas. But Shammai says only if she was acted sexually improperly, right? She was some moral misbehavior. Basil says no. Even if he doesn't like the way she kept house, the way she cooked, whatever. Rabbi Kiva says no. Even if he found somebody he likes better, he can throw her out. Tanya says Rabbi Kiva, he doesn't like her. Tanya. Our Basil Beishamai, look for never dover. Didn't just say erba, it says erbas dover. Anything. He didn't like the way she cooked. He didn't like the way she made the beds. Amar Beishama, look for never erba, erbas. It says erba. That means a moral misbehavior. Amar lahem Beisil. So Beisil said to Beishamai, im nemer erbas. If we would just say erba, below nemer dover. You're right. If we only say erva, I would agree with you that you can only divorce her if you found some moral misconduct on her part. Right? That's why it says erva's dover, and therefore it says dover to tell me that even if for some other reason, if we would only say dover and it wouldn't say erva, say Yomer. What did the pasuk say? If Reuben marries her and divorces her, he doesn't like her, and she goes to somebody else, blah blah blah, right? So if it would only say dover, I would say, yes, if you divorce her because he didn't like her, she can go marry somebody else. Again, Let's say you can't divorce her just because you don't like the way she cooked. If it would only say, so just say davar. Davar includes everything, right? You know the way she cooked, you don't like the way she misbehaved. So why don't you just say davar? If you wouldn't say, if you only say davar lo me'erva, say yisi omer mishum davar tinas lacher. If you divorce her for some reason that you didn't like her in the house, you don't like the way she dressed, you don't like the way she cooked, you don't like the way she prepared your bed, whatever. So you could divorce her and she can marry somebody else. But if she was if she morally misbehaved, you shouldn't be able to marry anybody. This is a promiscuous woman. She should be prohibited from marrying any Jewish person. Like Hachna Erbers, they tell me no. If you divorced her because of moral misbehavior or because of let's call it home misbehavior, home economics or whatever, right? The way you don't like the way she kept the house. Either way, you can divorce her and she can marry somebody else. Shammai, who says no, the key is erva. You can't divorce her unless she morally misbehaved. Hi, Dover Mayavli. What do they do with Dover? It says never can Dover on the whole Dover. It says Dover here. It says later on Dover. Pishnai made him. All Pishnai shadim got from Dover. Mal Mishnah when just like over there, it's when it comes to money matters or when it comes to any misconduct, sexual misconduct, it's got to be with 2 or 3 Adam in order to prove the case and punish the person. Malol Mishnah Adam. Afkan Mishnah is also with 2 Adam, meaning when can you force her out of the marriage? There's 2 Adam. There's no 2 Adam. You can't force her out of the marriage. So that's what he says davar for. Ubeis Hillel miksiv erva b'davar. Does it say she committed misconduct with witnesses? You're saying davar refers to witnesses. It doesn't say that. It says erva davar, erva or davar. Beis Shammai miksiv o erva o davar. The way you're explaining it, Beis Hillel, either erva or davar. Beis Hillel lahochiksiv erva davar the mashmachi mashmachi. That's why. Rashi, take a look at Rashi Beis Hillel, a little bit above where we are. For sure, you could only force her out of the marriage if there's witnesses. Look, if you have clear witnesses, few witnesses that she committed adultery, even if there is no, we're not talking about a sota. A sota is a suffix, right? There's kinoi, stira, and all that stuff, right? If there were just 2 witnesses that she committed adultery, there was no warning, there was no kino, there was no stira, there's no sota. She's out of the marriage. So you're right. Davar certainly means 2 Adam, but he's telling you more. Ervas davar, veloksiv erva bid davar, veloksiv nami o ervas o davar, to tell you both things. If Beis Shammai said, according to you, that you can divorce her either for sexual misconduct or for overcooking the food or burning your roast. So it should have said o ervas o davar, one of the 2. But why does it? And it doesn't say erva. Why doesn't it say erva bid davar? Says Beis Hillel Shammai. According to Beis Shammai, it should say erva bid davar. So Beis Hillel says no. That's why it says erva davar to tell me you could interpret it both ways. You can interpret it the way you interpreted erva bid davar, or you could interpret it erva o davar. The Mishnah erva o davar, Mishnah erva bid davar. That's how Beis Hillel explains it. What about Rabbi Kiva? Kiva says if you find somebody you like better, just get rid of the first one. Now you could. Interesting. It might sound like Rabbi Kiva's very dismissive. Yeah, just take another one, right? Maybe according to the Torah, you can take your polygamy is okay, so you can have several wives. Many people used to have several wives, right? Even until modern times, the Sephardim had 2 wives. They weren't obligated by the Chem Deber Gershom. So Rabbi Kiva says, so when Rabbi Kiva says another one, maybe he's telling you. Better to do a nice thing. If you don't like one, take another one and divorce the first one rather than keeping both in the house and cause fights, right? By having several women in the same house. So maybe he's telling whatever you would say, even if you find somebody nicer than her, you can divorce her. Why divorce her? Just take both. The answer is then maybe the other one won't be. If you like the other one better and it's obvious, maybe she'll feel worse. Better to divorce her and get a. Pardon? Yeah, like our instar, exactly, because that's why they're called Sarah, Sarah's Sarah, right? So we had it with Hagar, right? Everything's like that. It's always like that, right? So we keep up my feel much. So Mike, what's the machlokas here between? There's a 3-way machlokas here. Beis Shammai says only divorce for sexual impropriety. Beis Hillel says no, even if you don't like the way she cooked, that's also a reason. But Keith says she might be wonderful, she might be a great cook, and she was nothing sexual improper. You just found somebody else that you like better. What's the machlok? Mike and Mifki. The Rish Lakish is smart. The Rish Lakish, not that they argue about Rish Lakish. Everybody agrees. author's idea. Rav Shapiro famously says, "Ki." The word "ki" in Hebrew. What does "ki" mean? It usually means because. Well, it can mean several things. Ki mishamash b'dalshas. It refers to four different. It can mean it's used in four different ways. In other words, there's four different translations. It means if. Ki means if. Dilma means perhaps, right? Perhaps. Pen, like pen, perhaps. Ella means rather, but, or rather this, not this, rather that. And the because. Ki, because. Lama, ki. Ki kachani rotzeh, right? Means because. Veshamay sabay v'hayim mosam tzechem einov. It's because. Why won't you, when the pasuk says if you don't like her, you're going to divorce her, why? Because you found sexual misconduct. Ki matzav means because. That word is because. It means the ha. Ki matzav the ha matzav. And Rashi points out, Beis Hillel also agrees that it's because, except Beis Hillel says it's both. Right? Rashi, about 8-9 lines down from the bottom of the page, Beis Hillel Nami, maybe 10 lines, Beis Hillel Nami, Hachi mashmalu lashon mipnei, because mipnei shematzaba o erva o davar. So Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel both interpret the pasuk as ki matzaba erva, because. Why are you divorcing her? Because you found sexual impropriety, right? Or because she burnt the food, according to Beis Hillel. So according to Beis Hillel Shammai, the word ki is mashma over here because. Rabbi Kiva sava ki matzaba erva stavar. Inami matzah be'ever stavar. According to Rabbi Kiva and Farshlei says Rashi and Farshlei lahai ki b'lashon im, if, right? What does it say? It says b'hayam losim sechem me'einav. Why? Ki matzah be'ever stavar. Or if, right? Or if you found something else. Im losim sechem me'einav, if you don't like her, right? V'im matzah be'ever. One of the two. Rabbi Kiva says any of those reasons. Lahai ki b'lashon im, if. Hilkach trei milinenu im losim sechavenim, if you don't like her, you know, the im matzah stuff, or if you found inami, or if you found some impropriety on her part. So Rabbi Kiva learns that the Beis Shammai says it's because. The key over here is because ki matzah stuff. Rabbi Kiva says it's if. Rabbi Kiva says ki matzah stuff, inami matzah stuff. Amalei Rapapa l'Rabba lo matzah b'lo v'lo davar ma'al. What happens? Okay, according to Beis Hillel. Rashi, according to Beis Hillel, it says that you could divorce her because either impropriety or because of you didn't like the way she cooked. Let's say there was nothing there; both of those things didn't exist. She was not improper, and she was the best cook in the world. Everybody loved her food, right? He liked her food too. He divorced her anyway. Does he have to take her back now? It says he could divorce her. Why? Shammai says only if she was improper. Beis Hillel says okay, even if she overcooked the food or if she acted improperly. Let's say he divorced her and those things didn't apply. Does he have to take her back? By a person who rapes a virgin, the halacha is, you know, he have to pay the father the 50 shekels, but he also has to marry her. And if he divorces her, he has to take her back. If he can never send her away, that means that if he does send her away, he's got to take her back. All his days, he has a mitzvah, he has to take her back. So since the pasuk over there says that only by onus, there the Torah revealed that's the halacha. Over here, you're not supposed to divorce her for those reasons, but if you did, the divorce takes. Let's say a man is planning on divorcing his wife. He's already made up his mind. But he didn't tell her yet. She's living with him, Shamshos, and she serves him in the house, etc. What's the halacha? He read this, he quoted this pasuk in Mishlei, Al techresh al re'echa. Don't plan any evil for your friend. And he's dwells with you securely. In other words, you're planning on doing something to him, and he thinks that he's your friend and everything is good. That's what you should do. So don't plan if you're going to divorce your wife, do it, but don't plan it and then live with her that way and planning against her. Then it's an evil thing to do. Just like there are different attitudes, sensibilities towards food. Some people are very particular. You know, they're the little bit of something dirty or it's not hygienic enough for them. They're very, very particular. Just like there's different feelings about that. The same thing is the attitude towards women's promiscuity. What do you mean that? There's some people who are very particular about their food. if a fly falls into his cup, the zarko, he throws out the fly, eventually he won't drink it. He throws out the whole cup, not just the fly. There's a fly in my soup, right? Don't tell me that there's a fly in my soup. I said, no. That joke is older than all of us put together. The zarko of ancient saying he throws out the whole cup. I'm not going to drink that at all. Zui midas Papas ben Yehuda. This is the midah of Papas ben Yehuda, who Rashi tells us was the wife of Miriam Magdalene. Interesting. Anyway, I'm not sure how that works historically, or there were maybe more than one. Anyway, so Zui midas Papas ben Yehuda shahaya Noah b'fnei ishtav Yosef. When he would leave the house in the morning, he would lock her in. He was so concerned that she might talk to men or something like that. He locked her up in the house, chained her down. How would that go over today? He chained her up. He locked her up in the house. She couldn't get out. So there's some people, if a fly falls into their cup, the zorko throws out the fly. As you're saying, he drinks the rest of it. That's an average. That's the average. That was the average, I guess, at the time of the Gemara. That was considered average behavior. Meet it. She talks to her brothers and her relatives. Right. In other words, it's normal for a woman to talk to her relatives and talk to friends, even if they're male, especially if they're her relatives. And there's some people where a fly falls not into their soup or into their cup of wine, but into their dish. There's a cooked dish there, and when it motes it so, they crush the fly in their eat the whole thing with the fly. Zui midas arma. That's the characteristic of an evil person. In other words, we're comparing person's sensibilities towards food with his sensibilities towards his wife promiscuity. And this is comparable to a person. He sees his wife acting very promiscuously. She goes out, with her hair uncovered, and she spins in the market, meaning she hangs around the market, does her work there. Her elbows are all exposed. Her on both sides of her dress, you can see her flesh. And she washes with men. She's washing. What do you mean? She washes, goes into the bathhouse with men? That's disgusting. That's Rashi. That's like that. But she's a zona for sure. If it's obvious, there's a rhyme of it's pretty clear that she's his own. Certainly, he can't stay with his wife. No, he doesn't mean that. When the men leave the bathhouse, she's walking in at the same time. She just hangs around with men there. It's a mitzvah to divorce. You found some sexual impropriety over here, some immoral behavior. So you should say, basically, you're supposed to send her away. Let her go to somebody else. Why does the pasuk say v'hochlis acher? Because he's not like the first guy. Lomar she'ein zeh ben zugo. He's not the same kind of guy as the first guy. Zein zeh ben zugo l'rishon. He's not similar. He's not the same type of person as the first husband. Zeh hotzi v'shomi beiso. The first guy said, "Listen, she's immoral. She's an immoral person. I'm getting rid of her." And this guy, presumably knowing that she was immoral, that's why the first guy divorced her, took her in anyway. So that's why he's called Achu. He's a different kind of a person. But the point is, this idea that there are different kinds, just like there be different tastes in food, how disgusting, things are to you, how repulsive the food is. If a fly fell into your food, how repulsive is it? Do you just, you throw out the whole cup? And you're mocked about everything, and here he's mocked with so much that he locks his wife up. Or do you say he's an average person? He throws out the fly and eats it, and that's an average person. Also, he allows his wife to come to shul and talk to people as long as he's around, and she can talk to her friend, to her relatives, even when he's not around. And then you have a person who doesn't mind if his wife is acting very with great immorality. Running around and making herself, like people looking at her and exposing herself to people, and that's a mitzvah to sort of. We're not talking about a person literally. If there's raglayim l'davar, if there's there's reason to believe that she's committing adultery, then you're mechuyev to throw her out. But here we're talking about somebody who just acts acts promiscuously, and therefore you should divorce her. It's a mitzvah to get rid of her. You send her away, and then she goes to somebody else. And the other guys are also a Russia. He's a Russia because he took her into the house, right? If the second guy merits, if he's smart and he's not a bad guy, he'll also divorce her. The pasuk I just quoted before. The first guy marries her. He finds something improper in some way or another. According to Akiva, either improper or he just doesn't like her. He finds somebody else better than her. He sends her away, goes to the second guy, and the second guy also doesn't like her, and sends her away. She can't go back to the first guy. It says, if he's zocha, he'll send her away too. Imlav, if he's not zocha, kovarto, she'll bury him. She'll bury him. If he's not zocha, if he's back to Shneimar, or if the second guy dies. You know, famous story with, I think it was Kiva Eger, where a woman complained, her husband was mistreating her and she wanted a divorce and he wouldn't give her a divorce. And he came into Kiva Eger and said, listen, there's two ways for a woman to be free, right? Either death or divorce. Give her a divorce. He refused to. The guy walked out of Kiva Eger's house and he dropped it in one or two, right? So there's two ways. If he's not zocha, she'll be him. Kedai hi b'misa. He's worthy of death. She's out to Rishovi Beso because the first guy took her out. She was Rishoh. She was an immoral person, and he sent her out. He took it an immoral, but what are you marrying an immoral person for? Pasuk says in Malachi, Kisane Shalach. He's hated. Because he's hated, send away. How do we explain those words? Kisane Shalach, right? Pasuk of Malachi. Rav Yehuda says, "Im sneasa shalach." If you don't like her, send her away. Rashi says, "Im sneasa shalach b'kiva." You don't like her, no particular reason. She didn't burn the food. She wasn't immoral. You don't like her, send her away. That's how Rav Yehuda's darshaning the way of Rav Kiva. Rav Yochanan Amar sanu yamashalech. Now, if you look in the side, it says over there sfar macher snuahi lifnei hamakom shalach. If she's hated by Hashem, because she acts improperly. And Rashi has that gears at the beginning. If God doesn't like her, why? Because she acts improperly. She's immoral. That's a dashan. That's lashon kisane. If Hashem hates her because she's acting improperly, you have a mitzvah to send her away. And some of the gears that we have in our Gemara of sanui hamashaleach. This the Garci says Rashi shanim shaleach. Shamati shanim shaleach b'makom. Even according to Beis Hillel, it says the divorce your wife because of immoral behavior or because of some other reason, like she overcooked it. Obviously, if it's because of immoral behavior, then you're doing the right thing. But even according to Beis Hillel, says you can divorce her over the food, or according to Akiva, who says that you can divorce for any reason, Hashem doesn't like that. The one who sends her away, not for a good reason, not for immoral behavior, he is hated by God. So Rabbi Yochanan says, so we have two opinions over here. Rabbi Yehuda just says, like Rabbi Kiva, if you don't like her, send her away. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, it's not right to send her away unless there was something immoral. Below pligi. Habazug, Rishon Habazug Sheni. Is it the first marriage or the later marriage? Amar Rabbi Lezer, oh my gosh, you divorce your first wife. Afilu Mizbeach Moral of Mos. Even the Mizbeach cries tears for that marriage. Nemar. Vizo Shenis Tasu. Further, you should do this. So stimas mizbach Hashem, cover the altar of God with tears, bechi with crying, vanoka and sighing. Me'ein od pnos ela mincha, because God doesn't look anymore to your goodwill offering. He won't take any more your goodwill. Why? Al ki Hashem heyed beincho bein because Hashem, He's the one who can testify about what's going on between you and the wife of your youth. You rebelled against her, right, by divorcing her for no good reason. She's your friend, and the wife of your covenant. It's a very sad thing for a man to divorce his first wife over basically nothing. Of course, if there's immoral behavior, then there's reason. But if it's simply because, today their kids are all spoiled and it's a throwaway society, as they say, and not a good that's not a good thing. And that's the lesson that we end up getting. Pardon? Right. First one, right. Yeah, but the lashon over here is the same. That's correct. Right. Metaphor is right. Hanulach Hamagash Vasikum Skitin. That ends this parak, ninth parak, and the end of Masechtas Gitin. And let's take a quick look at Kedushin. At Kedushin before we do the Hadron. This is the last Masechet in Nashim, last of 7 Masechet Nashim, and this will complete. When we finish Kedushin, we'll finish the first 3 starim of the cycle. Time flies, right? Zman Nokat, right? Zman Nokat, Sroim. We only have Brachas, Sroim, Moed, and Nashim. Then we have Nezikin, Kachim, and Taharas. Taharas is only Nida, so we have Zman Nokat. Ha'isha says the beginning of Kedushin. Ha'isha nikdas b'shalosh brachim. A woman is acquired in 3 ways. Here we're talking about Kedushin. We're not talking, of course, there's Kedushin and Nesuin. A woman is acquired to her husband in one of 3 ways. What are the 3? We'll see. Bekonas atzma, and she acquires herself, like we just said, in one of 2 ways. B'shay drachim nikdas. How is she acquired? B'kesef shtar b'viyah. Kesef is kesef money or shava kesef. Today we usually use a ring. We give her a ring. That's kesef or shava kesef, the value. Bishtar with a document, even though it's worth nothing. Ubabiyah, which the rabbis frowned upon. That's considered promiscuous. It's not nice. It's repulsive for somebody to take his wife that way. And he could say he could do that, and it would work. Halachically, it would work. But the rabbis frowned upon that, as we'll see. So it's usually done with kesef. The kesef, Beshami Om dinner, Beshavadim. Beshami says it's got to be a significant amount of money. It's got to be dinner or the value of dinner. Besolom, Puta, Beshavaputa. We'll see. All the more going to explain the reasons for this. Either Puta, Shavaputa. Bakami, Puta, Puta, Echanish, Manabisim Taki. 1/8 of a Italian Isar. That's how much a Puta is. Bekonas Asma, how she acquires herself, either get or be sabal, either with a divorce. There's only 2 ways to leave a marriage for a woman: either get or the husband dies. Hayavama, which we had Yavama back at the beginning of Nashim. Hayavama niknas b'biyah. The only way she acquires herself minatorah, the only way that she is acquired by the Yavam minatorah is b'biyah. We know we also do bisman, and later on the rabbis instituted mimer. So you shouldn't just marry her that way by having biyah, but you do mimer, which is like a kedushin drabanan, also with like kesef or shtar, like kedushin drabanan. And for that, you need a get if you decide afterwards. And remember, if you did mimer and then you want to get rid of her, you have to give her both chalitza and a get. If you actually married her, you did biyah, then you only divorce her with biyah. There's no more chalitza. How does the yavama, the woman in waiting, the shemer siyam, how does she acquire herself? Either b'chalitza, misa yavam. Either gives her chalitza, or if the yavam dies, if there's only one yavam, if all the brothers died out, that's how she would acquire herself, and she can be free to marry anybody in the shul. Hadnulach Masechtas Gitin v'Hadrach Alan. Hadruch Masechtas Gitin v'Daitach Alan. Sashman Masechtas Gitin Sashman Lavam Nasid. Hadran Allah Masechtas Gitin v'Hadrach Alan. Daitach Masechtas Gitin Daitach Alan. Sashman Masechtas Gitin Sashman Lavam Nasid. Hadran Allah Masechtas Gitin v'Hadrach Alan. Daitach Masechtas Gitin v'Daitach Alan. Sashman Masechtas Gitin v'Sashman Lavam Nasid. Hadron noch Masechtas Gitin v'Hadrach Alan. Hadron Masechtas Gitin v'Daitach Alan. Masechtas Gitin v'Sashman Lavam Nasid. I think I did it 4 times. Here's something Noel Henry was saying. Shetay Torah Sechel Manasena Balam Masechtas Manlan Bab. Chanina Bar Papa, Rami Bar Papa, Nachman Bar Papa, Choy Bar Papa, Av Mari Bar Papa, Roch Bar Papa, Roch Bar Papa, Surga Bar Papa, Ado Bar Papa, Dor Bar Papa, Harav Natan Elohim the Brace for us from Binu. V'Fia Sam Chabeis Yisrael V'Nia Kolon on Nachman Mitzvah Mitzvah Chabeis Yisrael Kolon Min Shmecha Lom Der Sarsecha. Never tachmen with the sakhi lolam he di some kechel man lo ebash lolam mashkech decha keep on pisani rocha tod noel den kecha amen 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 celebrate modim manach lo tnachad noel heini by ever sem santa fken biosh basement santa fken biosh konas shan mashkim behem mashkim anu mashkim de betar behem mashkim bar metalem anu mem hem anu mem kam schar behem mem en kam schar anu rotsam lachayim above behem rotsam le shachash nemar Va'ator Elohim taridem ve'shachas anshe tam mimra lo yechzu yimeim v'ani etavach yirsum t'nachat noel high. Kishem shezarkan v'sayim v'seflas getting kentas reini v'haschum v'seflas svar machem v'saimam v'ulmad ulam lishram v'lasus v'kaim v'skodin v'secha v'ava v'schus kol t'ram v'amram v'tamilech chacham yamud li v'zari shalotam v'shator v'pi zari v'zerazari ad olam v'yiskayim bi v'salecha tan chosach v'shach v'tishmor alacha v'kitzasi t'sichach v'pi yir v'yemecha Yosif b'chashnas Chaim Orech Yom Mina b'Smal Osh b'Chavar Adonai Oz l'Mo Yitain Adonai Barech Zamav Shalom. We'll do the Kanashut after we get a minute. Have a good day, everybody.
Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov. Beautiful.
Mazel.
Thank you.